Welcome back to the league that means nothing on Go Again Gaming.
So hello and welcome back to my channel, Go Again Gaming, here for the League That Means Nothing Season 4. Today's going to be an interesting game. We've got Gravy versus Kano. Now, a little word of sort of clarification here. I've allowed all of the players to switch out to High Seas heroes if they wish for round 2 and above. So now we're going to see a lot more High Seas matchups in round 2 and beyond. And I think rightly so, because the High Seas heroes are cool as hell. And speaking of hell, we've got Ian Kenderdine piloting Gravy Bones and Dennis Kanaki piloting Kano. So let's get into the gameplay and see how this one goes. But before we do, let's hear a message from one of our sponsors. Do you ever feel like you're using too much paper? Tired of scribbling life totals between every single round? Get a life. Counter. Fab Counter. Fab Counter is a life tracker built specifically for Flesh and Blood. It makes tracking life, playing any format, and choosing heroes fast and simple. With regular updates for Living Legend changes and new hero releases, you're always ready for the next game. Make sure you go and download it on Play Store and Apple Store to really facilitate and help your streamed games, or just your next game in general. Fab Counter. So here we go. Ian Kenderdine versus Dennis Kanaki. Ian rocking that amazing pirate-ish playmat from DM Armada. One of the content creators that's been with us for ages and has always wanted that pirate class, right? But here we see Dennis pitching a blue overflow the 8th well, open the floodgates, I think, to pilot the Crucible into a sonic boom for 4 damage coming in at Ian's face. Ian sporting 2 pieces of Arcane Barrier in Nullrune Hood and the Nullrune Boots. And of course, Gravy does have access to some sort of other prevention-esque effects, but not too much. I imagine is going to be clogging the deck, so we might just be running with AB2 here. But first of all, we are going to be ABing 2 by pitching this flying high. So we've got 1 floating and 2 going in over the top to deal damage to Ian's face. And of course, Kano starts on a lot of lower life total. So hopefully Ian can make the most of that life total gap. But we know that Gravy does take a while to establish the allies, but we also have seen Gravy in the past just come out swinging with tipples and all sorts of go-again aggressiveness. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. Of course, Dennis playing Kano can just blow people up if the right sequence of cards comes down. But that's pretty much it. We are going to see Dennis just arsening a card and passing back over to Ian as we go with this Necromancer first turn. We can see that obviously we've got Dead Threads and the Gold Beta Hook. Gold Beta Hook, very, very good for just establishing that constant gold generation engine, which isn't really a thing in Constructed. You don't have the Treasure Island, of course, in Constructed, so the gold generation on tap is definitely one of the things that you need for this deck. And we are seeing Ian just use that Compass of Sunken Depths to look at the top card. And we are seeing that Golden Tipple, another engine that the CC decks have access to get that gold and get those allies flowing. But we are seeing a Golden Tipple coming in for 3 go again. And obviously when this attacks, Ian can discard a yellow card if he wants to. And that will allow him to draw a card and create a gold. So we are going to be discarding that huge Whaler Humperdinck, which should be creating a gold, but obviously we've got little prompt there that I've put in post-production to remind everybody that that is going to be coming later. But yeah, Golden Tipple coming in for 3 with go again, of course. It's up to Dennis to decide how they block this. And obviously, of course, there is something coming after it. Now, of course, we have not played the blue card yet. So we do still need to play the blue card to obviously give access to those watery grave cards. But we are seeing the Chain Lightning being used to block here, by the looks of it. That's going to cover all of it. Chain lining, an absolute classic. Now we're going to see Ian come in with a friendly first mate, just establishing that from hand. Just so we can, if we so desire, change the target of Dennis's attacks to Chum. But it's not really going to make much of a difference in this particular matchup because Dennis is throwing arcane spells. So Ian just looking to establish an arsenal, an ally from hand to get this board state flowing, get the weapons established, get the allies on board to start throwing down on Kano as quickly as possible here. Not being able to get anything going from the graveyard, but still being able to get that and summon that Chum. Because it still attacks for 4. If you can end with the Chum, it's still a nice little chain ender for 4. Obviously, it doesn't cost anything to actually attack with Chum either. It just says tap and attack for 4. So there's Ian just remembering the goal creation. But yeah, Chum, pretty good in those sort of physical attack matchups where you can say, right, Chum, you're going under the bus here to prevent this attack coming in, this CNC or something like that, right? But not really going to get that ability off in this particular game against Kano, but still able to tap and attack for 4. So hopefully Ian can structure that so we get a nice little 4 attack breakpoint on the end of a combat chain here. It doesn't have go again itself unless, of course, you give it go again through some of the loot the hole type cards. But we are seeing a Kano activation. Choosing not to banish. Just looking at the top of the deck. Maybe those cards haven't presented themselves in the right sort of orientation, but we are seeing an energy potion played from the arsenal. So Dennis able to look at the top card of the deck at the moment and then play the energy potion out and just arsenaling a card. By the looks of it, that's pretty much going to be the turn. Yep, we're just going to be establishing an energy potion, arsenaling a card, and drawing up to 4. And Kano just happy to spin a couple of wheels here, establish some extra resources on board for when that big combo turn comes up, and happy to just pass it over to Ian until they find some ridiculous salvo that they can chuck at the Necromancer here. But it's over to Ian, who is going to play a Call to the Grave. Just going to be able to go search for a card and put it into the graveyard and shuffle. Now, of course, this is a blue starter as well, which means, obviously, Ian is going to be able to access the gravy ability to play cards with Watery Grave this turn. So, just a fantastic all-round card for this deck. Obviously, this one was spoiled in Rosetta, so it was a hint at what was to come in High Seas with this Call to the Grave. Clearly, this character in this art is summoning skeletons. So everybody was like, oh, Necromancer confirmed, and Necromancer was indeed confirmed in High Seas. So that's what we're seeing right now. And we are going to go get a back alley break line. So this is an interesting way to gain an extra action point. So obviously you can go search for this. Obviously when back alley break line is put into any face up into any zone from a deck, you get an action point. Obviously because Call to the Grave does have go again already, we are going to get another action point from that. So you've got 2 action points now essentially, which will allow us to basically summon an ally and then swing with it, which is pretty good, giving us that sort of Mage Master Boots type of effect. And we are going to see The give no quarter potentially being played here to reduce all ally costs by 3, which is pretty good. Ian just thinking about the most optimal way to sculpt this. And yep, the next 2 ally cards with Watery Grave get a reduction by 3, which is pretty big. Just pretty big. Obviously, we still got the extra action point, because that itself has go again as well. Now Ian just checking to see what cards we can play. But it's looking like a Whaler Humperdinck is being established here. Pitching that 3 is only needed here. A yellow and a red. But we can't attack with it because we don't have the resources. So it looks like we are just going to be able to come in with a chum. This turn. Yep. That's what it looks like the gesture is going to be. So chum just able to come in, backing up the Humperdinck for now, at least, coming in for 4, with Ian having established the best weapon for necromancers in Whaler Humperdinck. Of course, costing 6 to attack, it's no easy feat to demand that many resources, but coming in for 11 every single turn is going to be hard for Dennis to deal with if he can't cut Ian's life down quickly here. Because Ian's still at 38 life. Kano not dealing any damage to Ian. Well, only the 2 damage very, very early on, but not dealing much damage to Ian so far. Now that Ian has that Whaler established, that could pose a bit of a ongoing issue for the Kano here. Ian only presenting 2 Arcane Barrier, but Whaler Humperdinck coming in for 11 each turn is going to be a bit of a battering ram to deal with. We can see the utility of a lot of Ian's cards there, just being able to get out the Whaler and then still have an action point left to swing with that chum who was established last turn. But over to Kano here, over to Dennis, as we look like to pitch a Aether Flare to Kano's ability. To have a look at the top card, we may banish it and play it as an instant this turn. Are we going to see it be played? Looks like an Aether Wildfire is being banished. That could spell a little bit of trouble for Ian. Depending on how the hand lines up here, we still got the Energy Potion in play. We can still crack that for some extra resources. It all depends on what's in the hand here, what the sequence might be. Dennis just trying to figure out what the best orientation of cards is. Pitching a Lesson in Lava to come in with that Aether Wildfire. Coming in for 4 damage. And of course, any damage that leaks through from this is going to carry over to every single other piece of arcane damage this turn. But we are seeing a pitch there with an Oyston, I believe his name is. The one that dies and leaves a gold behind. That's going to be blocking 2 of that with the Arcane Barrier. Still going to be seeing 2 come through and deal 2 damage to Ian, which means that every other arcane spell this turn is going to deal an additional 2. We are seeing the Crucible of Aetherweave activated. And then a Sonic Boom coming in for 4. Which should be 5, actually, from the Blazing Aether buff, right? Yeah, I think the total should be higher than that, because Sonic Boom comes in for 3. It's getting buffed by 2 by the Crucible, by the Aether Wildfire, being buffed by another 1 from the Crucible, and then being amped by another 1 from Amp. So it should be 7. At least that's the note that I've made to my post-production on this editing. But leave a comment in the section below as to what this should have been. But Ian is just going to be taking some damage after Arcane Barriering a little bit more of it. So going to be taking 3 damage here. We are going to see the Sonic Boom trigger resolve. Looks like an arcane twinning on the top there. At least I think that's the arcane twinning. The one that can be discarded to amp, I believe, that one that was banished. Trying to remember from the art alone what that can do. But yeah, I think that spell should have been bigger than what it was. Obviously, we had the 2 leaked from Aether Wildfire, which should have pumped it by 2. Crucible pumped it by another 1. Amp pumped it by another 1. So I think it should have been 7 instead. Could be wrong. There's a lot of things happening in these games, of course. And luckily, any missed triggers, any misplays, luckily this league means absolutely nothing. So it doesn't really matter, after all. It's all for fun and games as we go over to Ian as he activates the compass. Hopefully showing him the way to Tropeldani as he looks at the top card of the deck. Of course, the compass, just a fantastic little tool for allowing these lines to be sculpted. There's a lot of that top deck manipulation. And we are going to see a little bit of that now with the chart of the high seas. So Ian does know that at least the first card on top. So have a look at the second card. Is it going to be a blue and a yellow? Let's have a look. Let's spin the wheel, baby. Let's see what we got. I think the window is just being considered to see if Dennis wants to do anything else. And it looks like we do have both, perhaps. We did see a sea legs there, as well as whatever the other card was. No, it's 2 yellows. Okay. So discarding a limpet. We're going to get a gold on the way out. And then discarding a sea legs. Which is pretty good. It's a shame it's not discarded, though. It's only just put from the top of the deck into the graveyard, right? So it's not actually discarded. So we're not going to get the Gold Kiss run, which is a little bit of a shame. Might have been too powerful if we printed it like that. But getting a gold on the way out and chucking that limpet in the graveyard as well. So not getting the pitch, unfortunately. Chart of the High Seas, just a very, very good card in general. Perfect for these gravy decks. Just synergize, chuck things in the graveyard, pitch a card if needed. Can just do absolutely loads of different things. But we are seeing that limpet hop along established now. Doesn't cost anything to do so. And of course, it does have go again because of all the things that have happened this turn for Gravy. Chart of the High Seas, of course, is a blue starter. It's a very, very good card. But, yeah, we are just chucking in this 2 for go again. 2 go again, and of course, the Chum will be the one that follows this, or ends the chain, because it doesn't cost anything to attack. So obviously, we're going to see Chum come in after this as well. But coming in for 2, first of all, on this Limpet. Which looks like we are just going to be taking that to the face. Going down to 24. And then Chum coming in for an additional 4 here. As the end of the chain. Blocking for 3 with this Arcane Twinning. Taking 1, going down to 33. Ian untaps all of the good stuff. Oh, it looks like Dennis does have some actions. Or at least could have had some actions before the end step there, but chose not to do anything. Which is fine. And Ian draws up to 4 as Dennis pitches a Destructive Aether Tide into the Crucible of Aether Weave. 2 floating, pumping the next arcane damage spell by 1. And coming in with a red Aether Flare, coming in for 4. Of course, this has a similar effect to Aether Wildfire. Obviously, the damage dealt by this will then carry on over to the next spell. But we are pitching an amulet to prevent 2 of that damage. So 2 is going to be going through over the top. So Gravy, with this AB2, being able to weather the storm a little bit here. But coming in with a snapback for 5 now. Obviously, we can play this at instant speed because we have played the Aether Flare behind it here. So this is coming in for 5. It looks like this is probably the only other salvo that we're going to see this turn, but pitching a Sawbones into the AB to prevent 2, so it goes down to 3. We are just warding off these spells as much as we can while we establish a very large board state here. And that's the turn over by the looks of it. Now, if we have 2 blues in the hand of Ian, we can just start swinging the Humperdinck, which is going to be a good value proposition to get established as soon as possible. But we are going to see the compass first of all. Why not just have a look at the top card, see if any other options present themselves to us as we carry on in this round 2 game for the League That Means Nothing. We are going to see a Gravy Bones activation, removing a gold to draw and then discard a card. Discarding that Limpet Hopalong. So an ally has been put into the graveyard this turn, so we could activate Dead Threads if needed, and that's what we're going to be doing here. Just to generate a resource. And if we've got a blue and a yellow, it means we can come in with the Humperdinck, but we're not going to be doing that. We are going to be coming in with the Limpet first of all. So that gold, or that Gravy Bones activation, just fueling that Dead Threads to then come in with this Limpet for free, coming in for 2 with go again. And of course, we are going to see something else that follows this as well that Dennis has to stare down the barrel of. Or stare down the hook of, I should say, as we activate the gold-baited hook. So obviously, the next pirate attack will, on hit, create a gold, or steal a gold, and we are coming in with that whaler for 11 damage, on hit, create a gold. This is where you want to be. If you can get the room to establish an 11 power weapon, which is very, very hard to deal with, 7 life. Kano is going to be put into that position now where they do have to do something. And a Cindering Foresight being played. Okay. Obviously, this is being played at instant speed because it's not Dennis's turn. And the next time an effect would deal arcane damage, it deals that much arcane damage +1, and you get to opt 3. So I haven't really seen this card being played in Kano decks. Really? But when you're forced into a position like this where you're being swung at for 11, it just allows you to potentially sculpt a salvo on your opponent's turn, which could be pretty good in this situation. Because we still have the ability to play Kano activations on the opponent's turn without using Stormstriders. So, in a way, it will allow you to potentially throw a bunch of salvos on this turn and then potentially put Ian into kill range with the Stormstriders Energy Potion turn. And anything else that comes in between that as well, right? So that's what Dennis is trying to establish right now, is what can I throw back at Ian while he's got no resources floating. And that will allow me to then potentially put him in kill range of the Stormstrider's turn, which again is another uninteractable turn for Ian because he has to attack and spend resources to swing things like Whaler. So there's going to be these instances where Ian just doesn't have any resources unless we just don't swing with Whaler anymore now, because it's so cost intensive to swing with it. But again, there's going to be a point where Ian's life is going to be within range of a kill turn anyway. So that's what Dennis is probably thinking about right now, is how much damage can I do with this Cindering Foresight, allowing me to see the top 3 cards and opt them away. What can I throw back while he's throwing this at me? And we are going to see the Aether Wildfire being being revealed to the Kano trigger. So that's a good start to throw something back. And Dennis obviously knows that Ian only does have the 2 AB, so we are going to be cracking the energy potion this turn. Okay. So the Cindering Foresight has given us enough foresight to consider chucking this potion, drinking this potion away to gain some extra resources as we come in with this Aether Wildfire for 4, but it's actually 5 because of the Cindering Foresight, right? So it should be coming in for 5 because of the Cindering Foresight. Yeah. So 5 damage on the Aether Wildfire. Still got 2 resources floating and a Tunic trigger, so we can still activate Kano again for nothing, which could be good. Because Ian can't prevent any of this damage here. All the cards are on the table. That's a good position for Dennis to be in, because he still hasn't activated the Storm Striders yet. So if he can just punch Ian's life down a little bit more and then use those Storm Striders on a future turn, it just means that Dennis is gaining a turn for nothing. And of course, Dennis is still not dead as a result of this swing either. Still has 10 life to play with after this hits. So it's not like Dennis is going to die from this play either. So being able to identify when to make these plays and when to push is definitely a Kano thing. It's definitely a skill that you need to have as a Kano. And this is a fantastic card to be able to see right now. Snapback being able to be played at instant speed because of the Aether Wildfire. And that's going to be coming in for 5 as well. No, that's going to be coming in for 8, isn't it? Sorry. My maths just ain't mathing. I'm not a Kano player myself, so it's hard to read all this. And before we do that, we are going to see a Kindle be played as well. So we are going to draw a card and amp again before that snapback resolves. So that snapback's going to be coming in for 9, is it? Yeah, it should be for 9 because of the blazing plus the amp 1. So it should be for 9. So there's a couple of bits of damage that we've missed here and there, but obviously it's... I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong as well. Maybe that's not the case, but I think that is 9, yeah, because blazing's done 5, amp should be plus 1, plus the 3, that's 9. So still, that's a lot of damage for Ian to be taking. But again, Storm Striders has still not been used, so Ian now within a potential kill range for later. We are going to see a Lesson in Lava being banished now, which can be played. Lesson in Lava being played now for 8. This could be it. Yeah, 9. Because we're going to use the extra resources to fuel into the Crucible. 9 damage. 3 plus 1 plus 5 is 9. Wow. That could be game. I think that is game. Because you can search for a blazing Aether. And that's a lovely old job. Right? I think that's game. Ian's got no resources here. And that's the problem that Whaler puts you in, right? You've got nothing to... You got no hand to play with. Yeah, we go search for the blazing and that's it, right? A zero cost spell. Any zero cost spell. We still have Tunic available to us as well, so that's definitely game, I think. Yeah, we just go and get anything right now that does 1 damage. We just go get all right, we go get another Aether Wildfire. Oh no, we can't access that off the top though, can we? Unless we ragamuffins. Right? Because the Lesson in Lava puts the wizard spell on top, so we can't access that spell now. I thought that would be game. I thought we'd be able to access the top card of our deck somehow through ragamuffins, mate. Ragamuffins is that an action or instant? I can't remember. Well, Kano be Kanoing. Dennis is going to take that 11 from the Whaler Humperdinck and still has the ability to close it out on the Storm Striders now. So I think it's pretty much game here. Obviously, Dennis is going to be able to take a free turn in Ian's turn here, and Ian does have to swing for lethal. Can still swing for lethal through that Whaler Humperdinck. But he has to now play through the Storm Striders, which is going to be quite hard with only AB2, right? This is why I don't commentate on Kano games very much, because they are just absolute brain burners. So many lines, so many decisions. And to be able to play Kano at a high level is definitely a skill that I do not possess. That's for sure. Interesting game though, nonetheless. Obviously we've seen Ian establish a huge ally board there. A huge army of necromancers. And amongst it, the best ally in terms of just utter value in that Whaler Humperdinck. But we are seeing the Compass and Gravy's ability here to destroy a gold, draw a card, and discard a card. Discarding that anchor drag under. It'll be interesting to see how Ian now proceeds with his turns, knowing that there is a Storm Striders coming down. But we are going to see a Dead Threads activation because that anchor was put into the graveyard, which gives us a resource. Perfect little engine for Gravy Bones. We are just going to be swinging in for 2 with Go Again, asking the question of Dennis. 2 Go Again. Something will be following this. And Dennis will now be at the mercy of the composition of cards and the sequencing of cards that he now sees in these closing moments of the game. Dennis just choosing to take that 2 here. Now there is a follow-up with the Go Again. We are seeing a Vast Yi being played. So obviously the next power attack is going to gain Go Again, and when it hits, create an additional gold. So we have played a blue now as well. And we're just going to be coming in, by the looks of it, with the gold-baited hook activation and what looked to be Chum potentially swinging in for 4 with Go Again on hit, create 2 gold. Now Ian just structuring his turns in a way where he does still have the ability to AB things, which is very, very important. And there was me thinking it was game last turn. Wow. Completely forgot that obviously Lesson in Lava does not allow you to play that card immediately. It just puts it to the top of your deck. So if you could have activated Kano there, it could have been game, but obviously the resources weren't there for that. But Storm Striders is still a thing that Ian has to play through here. Obviously Dennis just taking the damage and now coming in with a CNC for 6, which is threatening lethal now. 1 floating, 1 card in hand. Which probably translates to 1 AB on one thing and 2 AB on another thing. So So we're blocking for 3 and going down to 1 life. On Dennis's side. Yep. Wow. Okay. No further actions as we go into the end game of this, as Dennis is on 1. 1 point of life. The thing is now is we can pump into Crucible and then come in with an Aether Spindle for 5 damage, threatening to rearrange that top X cards of his deck to find the thing that needs to kill Ian here. Are going to be preventing 2 of it and taking 3, which will allow Dennis to look at the top 3 cards of the deck here through the Opt mechanic. Put those cards back in any order, of course. Kano able to banish cards from the top of the deck to potentially access them at instant speed. But it looks like we are just going to be moving on, potentially. We are seeing, before that goes, we are just going to allow Ian to have a look at the top card of the deck before the turn resolves. And we are just going to see Dennis. We are just going to see Dennis set up for what potentially will be the Stormstrider's turn very soon. As Ian is now on 3 life. On 3, can only AB 2. So if Dennis can play 3 spells, that is game. Or anything larger than 3 damage. Will leak extra damage, of course. So if Dennis can put together a 6 power, 4 power spell, 6 or 4, you can only AB 2. So if he could put together a 5 power spell, Ian doesn't have the capability to deal with a 5 power spell. He's only got AB 2. So yeah, Golden Tipple, blue, coming in here. Pretty good, because obviously this threatens Dennis's life. And here comes the Stormstriders, pitching an energy potion. Just needs 5 arcane damage here, and that is it. We are going to be activating Gravy in response. I don't know whether Ian has the throw caution to the wind or other damage prevention, but we haven't seen any pitch, haven't seen any played so far, so it doesn't look like we are going to have that. Here comes the Crucible of Aether Weave, pumping the next thing by 1. And now we are going to be playing that Aether Wildfire with the Metacarpus nodes behind it as well. So that is going to be enough damage to push over the top of Ian if he doesn't have any other prevention. AB2 is the only thing that he has right now. Staring down 6. Has to find prevention of 4 from somewhere. Otherwise, that is the game. That is the game. Wow. Ian had a huge board state established there. But obviously, Dennis figuring out that line in that turn where he didn't have to use Stormstriders to punch Ian's life down enough that he could then close the game out with Stormstriders was a very, very good thing to identify, right? That's where Kanos operate. The Kanos operate in that danger zone where they have to figure out, right, I can do this on my turn and then I can use the Stormstriders, or I can do the Stormstriders now while they have no resources and then just blast through their defenses. So, very, very interesting game. And that's just what Kano can do. It can just blow you out. No matter what you've established, no matter what value you've got on board face up, Kano can just say, I don't care. I'm coming at you. You're going to have to deal with my blazing Aethers. Or Aether Wildfires. But yeah, congratulations to Dennis. Commiserations to Ian. Hope to see you again in round 3. We'll see. But until next time, thank you very much for watching The League That Means Nothing here on Go Again Gaming, and we'll see you all over again very, very soon for more gameplay in round 2. Peace.